Hi, everyone. Thank you again for taking your time to come to our session. My name is Lionel. I'll take you through this 1 hour or so on the topic on acing your next interview, because I understand some of the participants here may be having an interview soon, and so we thought we'd come up with something that would help you. So today everything seems to slow down for a while. So the slide is coming out. Okay, so basically, you know that we're going to talk about how to ace your next interview and recognizing these 4 types of interview. And before I start rattling on, let me introduce you to Eileen, my partner in crime. For those of you who has attended our webinar, would know that we work in tandem to help each other. And basically, she's there to make sure that I don't go rambling on, which is what I'm doing now. So I should get back to the main thing. So for the benefit of those who may not know what we do, so I'll just quickly go through what IBF Careers Connect do and what kind of services we provide. So basically, we provide one-on-one coaching, career coaching session, whereby we hope to be able to improve your job search skills. We hope that through us, you can learn about what are the job trends that's happening and what is the latest activities that's going on in the labor market. We also try post-COVID, hopefully, to have some networking session whereby we could connect you with other financial professionals. But in fact, we do host dialogues and talks, and I think that one of my colleague Adrian has fronted many of these, whereby you do meet some of the financial professionals to hear them out, whereby they share about their experience. So I'm sure that's one way that we could also connect you with the financial professionals. And then when you come to see us, often than not, there'll be some programs that's being introduced that could help you so that you can find yourself to be employed easier and faster. And last but not least, but when you come to see us and when you talk to us, sometimes you discover that you may have skills or competency that you never thought you had. So by talking to us, sometimes we can tell you, hey, actually, you're very good in this or you're very good in that, which you don't realize because you've been doing it all your life and to you is so easy. So like example, you may be able to find some of your strengths without even knowing that you're actually strong in those. So which is why at the end of the session, we'll put a QR code for you to scan so that you could make an appointment to see one of us, so that we could help you in any of these 5 or other points that you might have. Because I'm sure this 1 hour, try as we could, we will not be able to answer everything that you had in your mind. I think the top question that people ask is, will the slides be shared? The answer is no. However, you are free to take any pictures of any slide that you feel that it's useful to you. And last but not least, these presentations being recorded and it will be put up on our YouTube, IBF YouTube channel. So you can go there and take a look at this presentation and others that we have done in the past. All right, so that will answer the first question that someone put in the Q&A box about will the slides be shared. Okay, so without further ado, let's move quickly to the main topic of why we are here today. So if you recall those days when you go back to school, right, when you were doing your A-levels or O-levels or even your university, you realize that, hey, there are lots of questions that can be asked, which is the same thing with the interview. If you were to Google, you realize that there's so many questions that an interviewer can ask you. Could be like top 50 question, top 60 question and whatnot. And to be able to memorize or try to know all these questions is going to be really tough. Especially with your stress, you have lots of things that you may not know what's the best way to answer. So we looked through all of them and we realized that basically you could divide them into 4 types. And once you could recognize them, you could be able to really have the prepared answers for you to be able to answer them effortlessly, hopefully, so that you don't get stressed and panic and rattle on. Because remember, during the interview, the best is you answer your question within 2 minutes, if not 2.5 minutes, because anything longer than that, the mind tends to drift, which is why I should quickly show you what are the 4 types that we have identified. So we'll walk through each of them: the personal-based questions, the competency-based question, situational-based question, and behavioral-based questions. All right. So why do companies conduct interviews? Well, unless you are Dr. Strange, who could come up with a spell to read everybody's mind, or there's no other best way to be able to know whether a person is suitable for the role. So the interview basically is a matching session, right? Where the hiring manager wants to confirm your qualification, your skills, your experience. They also want to consider, which is very important, is your personality. Does your personality fit the company? How is your working style? And what are you passionate about? So basically, if you think about it, the interview session is like a matching session, right? It's to match these 6 or even more characteristic about yourself against what the job requires of you. So it's really a matching kind of exercise, which comes to the preparation stage. For you to be able to do well in the interview, you need to prepare, all right? You need to prepare by analyzing the job description again, because that's where you're going to get all the answers to the questions that we're going to show you. Right? You got to match your job description with your own personality, your own interests, and your own skills, right? And of course, if you need to research what's the company all about, and if you can, research what the interviewer is all about. As we said, prepare questions to ask the interviewer, also besides preparing answers. Practice interviewing either in front of the mirror or with your friends or with your loved ones, so that they know how you sound like, right? I mean, many of us, including myself, sometimes think that I just think it in my head what I'm going to say, and that's enough. Well, it's not enough, because the way you say it, your tone, your speed, and your loudness or softness, it plays a part. Some even say that the non-verbal cues in an interview carries more weight than the verbal cues. So you really need to practice interviewing to sound out loud. You could record yourself so that you can hear how you sound like. And last but not least, is a very, very stressful situation. So you need to find a method to reduce your stress level during the interview or before the interview or even after the interview, so that you don't get too overworked in it. My suggestion is don't overthink, all right? Don't overthink. When the question that we're going to show you, and later when you go through it, don't overthink it. Just think of what the intention of the question is, and then answer accordingly. All right. So I'm going to walk through slowly, if I can, today, so that I can explain why the answers to the questions are set up in that way. All right. I think that will be more helpful than to show you the answer. You take a picture of it and then you think, okay, this will be my model answer if this kind of question comes up, which is not the case, right? So actually, if you ask any of us, we don't like to give model answers, because model answer is very dangerous, because it's not based on your situation. It's based on some situation, could be our own situation, or it could be some situation that we think you are facing. So the best answers that you can give is based on your own experience, your own situation, your own personality, and your own interest. So let's have a disclaimer. The answers that you're going to see to the questions is just a guide, all right? Please come up with your own version of the answers. And that's why I decided today that I may slow down a little bit on the answer to explain why did we decide to answer it this way, okay? So if I cannot answer all your questions in your chat, which you're not supposed to put it there in the first place, you're supposed to put it in the Q&A, make an appointment to see us so that we can discuss with you on a person-to-person situation, which is more helpful for you, because then we can customize the answer that is really based on your situation. Okay. At this point, anything to add, Eileen? Good. So am I still on point, right? Okay, so the first type of questions that we're going to look at is what we call the persona-based question. And again, you will see this question out. What is the intention? So why does the hiring manager ask this type of question? Very simple. As we said in the beginning, it's a matching game. They want to make sure that you match or you fit the job. And more important, whether you fit the company's culture. So the closer you fit, then the more likable you will be. If you attended some of our session, you realize this likable word is something that we like to use. Because if the hiring manager like you, I would say 49% of the time, that's 49%. 40 means 50% you'll pass. 49% is the likability. So when you tackle persona-based question, you're trying to increase your likability. So the higher you can score on the likability score, then the chances are higher that you may be asked for a second interview or eventually be hired, all right? So what are persona-based questions? Basically, as we said in the beginning, interview is for them to find out what's your personality, what is your interest, what's your passion. They also want to know what your expectation is, and they want to know what your value, your working style, and last but not least, your work ethics. So open-ended questions, if I think most of us would know, is those questions that starts with what, why, where, who, whom, and how. Those kind of questions whereby you need to express yourself, which is why it's very important for you to practice so that you'll be able to express yourself. Because personal type of question is important, because if you can't describe yourself within 2.5 minutes or 2 minutes, then something is not right. Okay, so that's why it's very important. And these type of questions usually come in the beginning. So you'll see that they always ask you things like, tell me about yourself, or what is your weakness? How do you handle stress? What is your working style? So you realize that all the question forces you to elaborate an answer. You cannot answer with a yes or a no. You need to express, you need to elaborate. And this is the part whereby you need to increase your likability. And how do you do that? Which is why we went back to the preparation stage. Look at the job description. This is the profile of the person that they want to hire. So you need to project yourself, I must add, without lying, because don't lie. The most important thing is you don't lie, to be the person that they are looking for. So the more they see that person based on the job description, the more likable you will be. So if you want to take away anything from today, remember that. Study the job description, get to know what kind of profile they want, and if you have, I'm sure you've already done it, because if not, you will not be here for the interview, because your resume would have projected it. So now is the time where we said the confirmation, remember, to confirm you are what the resume say you are, which is why we have an interview. So I'm not going to touch on tell me about yourself, because my lovely colleague Adrian has a session on all about it, and if you can sign up for it, or you can even look for it in one of our archives, they will answer. Basically, it's almost the same if you say, how would you describe yourself? So if you haven't realized, this is the part whereby you pick up the clues from the job description and you describe yourself, or you tell about yourself based on what they are looking for. So as you could see from this one paragraph, first paragraph, I'm saying you can know, I already told them I'm a goal-driven person, right? And I'm focused on achieving results. So these are the things I want to let the interviewer know. So this is in the personal-based question is, what do you want the interviewer to remember you by? So it's very important for you to set up this stage. Because so my first thing is I want them to know that I'm a goal-driven person. Not only that, I achieve my goals. And if you look at it, many of you will know how to set SMART goals, right? You realize that I put the keywords of the SMART goals in here. I'm realistic, right? I achieve them, and there's a time limit, right? Time, and it's measurable because I gave them a result. It's 10% more. So many of times we find on the resume, people like to use goal-driven, which is fine. If you want to use goal-driven, result-orientated, proven these words, please let the hiring manager know, what did you prove? What was your result? What do you mean when you're driven? So here I make sure that I let them know I'm driven with sales goals and I achieve, and my result is 10%, right? Then I will follow by the second thing that I want them to know, this perhaps a skill. So I tell them I am very good at analyzing things, right? So I let them know this is the second thing I want them to go away, to know that I am very good in analyzing. And because of my analyzing skills, I surpass my sales budget. And I give a qualitative time now. 3 quarters in a row, I achieved them. And another qualitative answer, most sought after person when it comes to analyzing data. Because I know some of you always say, hey, sometimes I do not know how to quantify my achievement. So I put my second paragraph, I dedicate for those people to do a qualitative kind of thing. So you can say at the end of the day, I'm the most sought after leader. I am the one that people turn to. These will let the interviewer knows the qualitative achievement that you have. And last but not least, I like to let them know what I can do for them. So I emphasize my data analysis and how I can contribute to the company. And I just put there that I know that they are expanding and I know that they are growing. So this is one of the many answers you can give. And you realize that when I put this answer, there are things that I want the hiring manager to remember me by, which is I'm goal-driven, I achieve results, and I know how to set goals. I'm very good at analyzing numbers such that everybody looks for me when they want to have things to analyze. And I can use this to help the company to grow. So this is how I set up my answer to a question such as, how would you describe yourself? And then I'll just throw a bonus, which is, how are you passionate about? Okay, so when questions that so-called not really related to work, right? Like it or not, they still want to know how is it relevant to work. So when you want to say an answer that may not be relevant to work, try to tie it back to work, okay? Because this is an interview after all, right? So I could say this example, painting, right? And how often I do it. So I let them know, right? Then I quickly segue into why painting will help me, why my hobby, what I'm passionate about is going to help you, because they help me to relax and help me to de-stress, right? And help me to be creative. So these 3 things I want them to get to go by. That painting helps me to relax, help me to de-stress. I know what to do to de-stress. I know what to do to relax. And most important, it makes me creative whenever I face challenges, right? And then I round it up by saying, yeah, because some of the time when I get an answer to certain problem, please give some examples, is while I'm painting. So I like these answers because I use something that's not related to work, but tie it back to work to say that I can still contribute my hobbies that I have, that I'm passionate, or things that I'm passionate about, or things that I like to do, is still beneficial to the company. Okay? At this point, I'll just stop. Is there any questions that need to be answered, or Eileen, you want to add anything about a personal-based question?
Okay, so while we are waiting for people to ask questions, right, I also want to add that the way we have scripted this is everybody needs to learn how to do your own customization. And for those of you who might be very chatty, you're very interpersonal, you chat very well, right? And you know that you are likely to veer off topic. Be very careful when answering such questions, because remember, the first question that you answer almost always steers the direction of the entire interview. So you don't want, especially in this case, if it is so coincidental that your interviewer also likes painting, you do not want to veer the interview in such a way that the whole interview becomes about his or her painting classes and your painting classes. So so something for you to think about and take notes of. Yeah, so that's all I have for now.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, because some people are very natural when it comes to making conversation. Yes, which is why you realize that I try to keep everything within 3 to 4 paragraphs so that it helps you to focus, and it also help the interviewer to remember. Right. So at this point, those of you who have attended my previous previous classes, or whatever you call them, is that I like to preach about the rule or the power of 3. Because in a world where we are bombarded by information, the brain will shut down very easily, and it will try to put everything into groups of 3, right? So that it's easier for them to understand and remember. So if you can put your answers in groups of 3s, you're actually subconsciously helping the interviewer to remember you, right? So if you watch Channel 9 News, you'll realize that they always start with, today's news is A, B, and C. And then they'll follow with also D. So if you keep your answers within 3 or 4, you realize that, number one, as what Eileen said, you don't rattle on and rumble on and forget, and then your answer becomes 5 minutes long or 6 minutes long. And anything more than 3 minutes, I tell you, the mind wanders. So try to keep your answer within the 3-minute rule, or the rule of 3. Right? So that's why you notice that the structure of the answers, as we move on, is always try to base it on 3, or 3 things that I want them to remember, 3 paragraphs so that they can remember. Everything is always around the number 3. All right.
At this point, we do have a question from Kate. So what can we do with questions that insist on you exposing your weaknesses? And how do you recover from that with with a sense of genuineness and sincerity?
Rule of thumb, try to say a weakness that doesn't jeopardize the role that you're going to do. Put it this way. And the intention behind this question is not to know what your weakness is. The intention of this question basically is to know, how do you cope with this weakness, and how you can recover or learn from this weakness. So it doesn't, as we said, choose a weakness that really don't jeopardize your work. If you're a pilot, don't say your weakness is fear of heights. Don't choose a weakness that doesn't jeopardize what is going on, and then craft it in such a way that you recognize this weakness, what you have been doing to overcome this weakness, and what have you learned from that weakness. So you will structure in these 3 ways, in this 3 format, and that should safely get you through this questions. Anything to add, Eileen?
Yeah, so about the weakness, right? I think one thing that might be powerful for you would be, how you're going to use that particular weakness in this particular new role.
That is also useful. Yes.
Yeah.
So either make sure that it doesn't jeopardize the work. Second, yes, take this as an opportunity to say how this weakness may also help you in this new role that you're undertaking. Hope that answers your question. Okay, we have to move a little bit faster because I realized I took a little bit more time. Okay, the second type of question is what we call a competency-based kind of question. So after you've gone through 2 or maybe 3 questions that is about personnel, the next batch of question you're going to face usually is what we call a competency-based question. And competency-based question gets more when you go further into the interview, meaning if you have gone through the 2nd round or the 3rd round, you realize that this type of questions become more. So usually in the 1st round interview, the competency question is there, but it's not that many. So what is the intention? It's like, after knowing that I like you, it's not enough for me to hire you, because as much as you look good, or as much as I like you, because you and I love painting, but the key thing is, can you do the job? So a competency-based question is to look for the skills or the traits that you possess, and then to match it, right, with what. So if you go to this web page for financial services, you'll be able to find there's various job roles, and if you take a look at it, it looks something like this, whereby if you want to be a product analyst, it gives you, this is from the Skills Future Framework, whereby it tells you, okay, this is what your job is all about on the left-hand side. And on the right-hand side, you put a series of skills, right? Okay, this is just an add-on. Number 1, always follow what the job description requires. If some of you may not know, hey, I'm not too sure what are the things that they are looking for, this could be your guide to find out. And I think next month, one of our colleagues was going to go through in a deeper study on how to use this. So now it's just a teaser. It tells you the product, it tells you the skills. It tells you the description of the job and also the skills required. And so that it will help you build your resume first, and if not, during the interview, you can know what kind of skills that you want to say to convince them that you could do the job, right? So as I said, competencies basically is to find out your technical knowledge. So any certification that you have, any degree, any credential that you have, and your soft skills, basically communication. This is not exhaustive because there's more, but these are the usual ones that they look at. So like communication, your teamwork, your leadership, and your abilities, right? Whether you can adapt, whether you know how to manage conflict, or maybe do you know how to make decisive things. So basically, they look at these 3 things: knowledge, skills, and abilities. And these 3 combined, usually this is what we call a competent. So if you want to be competent, it's not just enough to have 1 skill. You must be able to use that skill. Because if you can be good in communication, but if you don't know how to use it, it's useless. So that's why we call it competency. So if you combine this, it's usually what we call competency, whether you're competent enough to do the job. Okay? So you will find that the question they ask you could be, sometimes it's very general. They say, well, what kind of skills do you have? What kind of skills did you bring? As I say, this is for a 1st round interview. They may not go too deep into it, but they would like to know what are the skills that you currently have that is going to help the role that you are applying for, right? So as we said, we're going to spend a little bit time slow on this. It's like, look, I quickly let them know my credential. I'm a CFA. I quickly let them know that I have 8 years of experience in personal finance management for high net worth clients. So my first thing already established my my credentials, right? Establish my technical knowledge. So I know what I'm talking about because I'm a CAFA, means I know a lot of financial instruments and things like that, right? And I just, as usual, throw in a result. Okay, throw in a number to say that because of my experience, this is what usually I accomplish. Okay, then I follow up with other skills, basically, as I say, and analysis and how these skills help me to have good discussion. And then I know compliance, knowledge again, I know my compliance, and I know regulatory control. So again, before you answer, always try to think, what is it that I want the hiring manager to remember me, right? So when I frame it, immediately they know I'm a CFA. Of course, they would have read the resume, they would have known, but I reconfirm I'm one. I work with high net worth client, I bring results, and then I tell them that, what do? I know about compliance and regulatory control. And last but not least, I have a leadership skills because I led, I supervise, and they put the people that I lead, the people that I supervise brings results. So this is what I would like my hiring manager to know, what kind of skill sets I have, what kind of knowledge I have, and what kind of ability that I have in order to do a good job. Anything to add, Eileen?
Just a small point. This one, right? Okay. So for those of you who are intending to script your answers to these questions, right? Please, it's a gentle reminder for you to actually practice them in front of the screen, because sometimes when you actually script an answer, you may unwittingly throw in a lot of adjectives. You think it looks good on paper, but when you actually say it out, it can sound like a mindful. I mean, yeah. So for example, Lionel, I'm going to throw okay, Lionel,
right?
so so he's not going to be offended. Yeah. So for example, in this case, I did it by meticulously and routinely analyzing economic trends against market performance. So when you actually rehearse this in front of the mirror, right, be mindful of how you're coming across, because this may be a lot of words for the other person to actually digest. And bear in mind, this is only the middle sentence of 5 or 6 sentences. So just a note for everyone to take note. Thank you, Lionel, for your graciousness.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, because if you want to put in, shall we say, jargons and things like that to make them know that you know your stuff, remember where to pause so that not only that you can breathe, but the person can digest, right? So that's why we said we don't like to give model answer to ask you to memorize them, because then you may not know where you want to stop. But because I wrote it, I know where I want to stop, and I know where I want to continue, and I know what words I want to emphasize. So yes, very good reminder. So moving forward, all the answers that we're going to show you, please realize that, please don't just memorize it blindly, but practice it. Say it to let people, to see whether someone understands what you're saying or not, right? If they don't understand, then work on it to make sure that they understand, all right? So quickly we move.
Okay, a very, very short question. I don't, it's just a clarification, yeah. Pui Fong, you're asking what is the link on the job profile and skill? Okay, I'm not too sure what you're asking for. If you can give us more details, we can put up the link. Lionel can just move on.
Yeah, okay, that one is from the skills framework.
Right, okay, let me put up.
You can put it in the chat. Yeah, it's from the skills framework. The finance skills framework. Yeah. Okay, again, now we look at the third type of question, which is what we call the situation-based question. So situation-based question is to assess a situation that you may face in the future, okay? And how you provide possible solution. So your answer should include what was the situation, if they let you choose, right? Because sometimes they let you choose. Sometimes they don't let you choose. Sometimes they tell you what is the situation, okay? But when wrong, what action you take and what were the results? So basically, almost like a star, you can use a star model if you want, for those of you that knows what star is. So basically, a situation-based question is, okay, now that I know about you. I like you. I know you can do the job. So let me see how you're going to function when certain thing happens in the job. So for sure, these situation-based questions will give you a sneak peek on what you're going to face in this new role. Okay, what are the things that you may face in this new role? Okay, so it could be, it typically will be, usually 100% will be a problem that happen in work, or a difficulty that you may face, or some crisis may develop while working in this new role. They basically want to see. So it could be something real, meaning you have faced it before, or it could be something that you haven't faced before, but you need to be able to tell them, if I do face this situation, how do I handle it? You know, how would I react to it? Right? So as I said, it could be something that they tell you. Your boss made a mistake. So what do you do? So again, I state the situation, which is during an audit, I found a flaw. If this flaw is not corrected, it's going to be problematic, right? So what do I do? This is my situation, and what went wrong, right? So what did I do? The action that I do. So I went to this. I have analysis. I have proof. Review together, testing it out, and then he's grateful. And what happened? The result is I gained his trust, and the audit went smoothly and improved productivity. So again, as you notice, it's 3 paragraphs. I set it up in 3 ways. I explain what the situation was, right? Then what the mistake was. Well, not really. I don't have to be so specific about the mistake, but it was a flaw. So you could, again, you could talk about it based on your experience. And then what did I do and what kind of result happened? Simple. So a situation-based question, you will notice is they will tell you a situation that has happened. It could be something that you already happened before, or it could be something that you have not done before. So notice the key thing is, what is the situation and how did you handle it? Any things you want to add?
Okay, I think we are good now. Yeah, let's move
on. We're
on.
Good. Okay, we have to move on because I think time just runs up and bite you. Okay, the 4th type of question is some people may be very familiar with, and most of the time, especially during the first round interview, is always on behavior, right? So behavior, the logic is past behavior is a good predictor of future behavior. Okay, so it always have, people can usually use the STAR method, which is, as I said, it's similar to the earlier one, the situation, the task, the action, and the result. Okay, this is just a suggestion for you to use. It's up to you to decide how you want to answer it. So some people may say, hey, what's the difference between those things? So let me just fall back slowly. Okay, as we said, competency means, do you have the knowledge, do you have the skills and experience to do the job? So are you competent? Okay. Situation is how you approach certain scenarios. So it's the situation. Okay. But behavior focus on what we usually call transferable skills. So because it's based on something that you did in the past and how you can bring it to the future role. So transferable skills could be, again, not exhaustive. These could be some of them. And you could either choose them, or again, the best place to find these things is at the job description. Hate to be a record that keep repeating itself, but basically the answers are all there. It's for you to spot it. And if you have problem spotting it, come talk to us. We'll help you. We'll tell you, okay, based on this job description, this is what is expected. And then you can build your answers based on those job descriptions. I see that Eileen's unmute. She has something to add.
Oh, sorry, my bad. Yeah, I was just busy answering some questions. So no, let's move on. Okay. The time.
Okay, let's move on. So One of the key giveaway that is the behavioral question, you will hear this about, tell me about a time. Okay, it's always like this. When you hear things, tell me about a time, or can you remember a time? Those usually are what we call behavioral questions. So again, as we say, if you follow the star, you give them the situation. So I'm working for this company called Marketing Solution. And because they gave me organization skills, sometimes they don't give you, right? Sometimes they give you. So the key thing is maybe this job that, for sure, this job that I'm applying for needs good organization skills, which is why they bring it up. Show me in the past that you use organization skills. So this is what I'm going to set it up for them. I work for this. And what was the problem? The problem was it's not easy to assess information of past marketing campaign, right? And who's involved, the task, you know, I have 5 consultants and all of them use their own ways to do their backing up. So to access the file is very time consuming. So what action did I take? I decide to merge everything and things like that. So this is the action that I did. And last but not least, the result. And as we said, you know, we tried to give some, if you cannot give a quantitative result, then give a qualitative. Because of this, I got promoted. Because of this, you know, they give me more responsibility, right? But of course, if I can base this question based on a sales, I can always say, at the end of the day, my sales increase. At the end of the day, my market size increase. So try to have some form of a result that is quantifiable, number one. If it's not possible to give a quantified answer, then give a qualifying answer. Was there a raised hand, or was it just something
No.
that? Okay, so everybody is very quiet. I guess the chat is busy, so I guess some people put it in the chat and not in the Q&A. That's fine, as long as your answers are being answered. Okay, I give you bonus second questions. Okay, again, it will be, tell me about a time that you knew you were right, but you still had to toe the line, right? So again, the situation, I give them a situation, you know, something like a white paper was looming and is due, right? Then I realized that there's something wrong, right? So in this case, it's the time period relevance. And then I decided to take it up with them, and then realize that because of the time scale is not, so we have to make some quick, fast rules, some assumption, and proceeded with the status quo. So what's the result? Oh, I learned something. Moving forward, you know, we decide that we need to do a deeper analysis or deeper thing to do this, so that we can capture more relevant and reliable results. Right. So this is another example where we use the STAR method to answer a behavioral-based type of questions. Anything to add?
No, but we have an interesting question. Are we ready to address one question?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's from Sentil. Why do you intend to change job after 15 years?
I don't have a fast answer, and I would suggest that you make an appointment to see us so we can craft a good answer. The key thing is there must be a reason for you to make a change, and it could be you realize that you're currently, after 15 years, this role could be replaceable by someone or something, could be a robot or something, or maybe the industry is a sunset industry and you couldn't. So basically try to give an example on what caused you to contemplate the change. And they need to know that this is not just something that it's an impulse decision that I want to change. Give them some background to know why you need to change and the commitment level that you have. I mean, for example, for me, I was in retail for the last 20 over years and I decided to be a career coach. So imagine if I were to go for an interview, which I did, they definitely asked me these questions. So I gave them a background that I've done all that is I could have done for retail. And as we know, retail is slowly getting to be digitalized and things like that. So I realized that maybe it's time for me to look at something else. And I always liked people development, even though I was still in retail. So natural progression is to be a coach, right? And to show my commitment, I gave up my corporate role. I invested money to get certified. And here that's why I'm here. So this could be something that you could craft your answer based on something like that. So you first, as I said, you must give them a background why you want to switch, and must show. But most of all is you must show the commitment. You know, what did you sacrifice? What did you do to show? Maybe you say you take up lessons like what I did. I make sure that I'm certified, right? Also for you could be, oh, I attend webinars, I attend sessions, I took up informal training, you know, I took up LinkedIn training. Show them that you are committed and it's not just a whim, right? It's not just something that you think, oh, everybody is going into tech, so I want to go to tech also. Or God forbid, my teacher tell me to do it, right? So I hope that answers your question. But I said, you know, come and see us, and I think we can then we can hear your situation and together craft up with a credible answer so that the hiring manager will not hesitate to proceed with the interview or even to give you the job. You want to have you anything to add?
Yeah, I think it is important to, I mean, this is actually a very nice question to answer because it allows your personality to shine through. So what I mean by that is you must always show that you're climbing your next mountain. So it shouldn't be that I was forced out of my job after 15 years, but you could say, my job had to be, you know, my job was offshore and, you know, I seized the chance to explore a new area. So I have done my due diligence. I have done this, and I'm very interested in so and so, and my search led me to this role, and that's why I'm here today. So it's important to position it such that interviewers sees and feels you climbing the next mountain, not leaving, you know, that previous dump. Yeah.
Yeah. So be upfront, be honest about it, why you decide that. As what Eileen said, give some background information on why you make the choice. And it's not a choice that you just made out of the blues or things, but it's a choice that you consciously decided to make. Let them know how your thought pattern goes and why you made the decision to switch. I mean, even if it's for more money, I mean, don't say it's for more money. I mean, there's other ways to say. All right. I'm almost done. So you've gone through the whole interview, then it comes to your favorite part. Actually, for me, it's my most dreaded part, whereby the interviewer will ask, okay, done. Do you have any questions for me? Right? So we don't have a time to do this, but think, what kind of questions should you ask the interviewer? Right? And come and see us so that we can test out whether these are kind of questions that you ask. But I'll just give you some thoughts about it, okay? And these are number one, the interview is not over, okay? Don't think just because the interviewer say, okay, is there any question that you would like to ask me? It's a trick. The interview is not over. They are still trying to assess you, right? So you have done very well. Don't let this part deflate the tire, so to speak, right? Don't be like, you're racing almost in the finishing line and then you trip, right? So many people trip at this point, okay? So think, we talk about intention, right? So when you want to ask a question to the interviewer, right? Think, What is your intention? And explain the intention to them, why you're asking the question, right? Don't make your question be the top 10 question you should ask your interviewer. Because if you were to Google them, yeah, you have a lot of these. Ask the interviewer this, ask the interviewer that. As much as it's good, and there are very good questions, some of them, make sure that, as what we've been talking all along throughout this 1 hour, almost an hour, make it your own, right? Script it according to your situation. If you want to ask about the working condition, explain why you want to know the working condition. If you want to know how you're being measured, explain why you need to know how it's being measured. So make your intention known so that they also don't give you the top 10 answers to give to the top 10 questions. You know what I mean? Make the interviewer also think on how to answer you. Because if they like you, if they feel that you can move on to the next stage, for sure, they will give you an answer that you would like to hear, so that you will be still interested in working for them. So I'm not going to give you any answers to this. I want you to really go back and think. And if you can, make an appointment to see us and run that question through all of us. And we will tell you whether your questions is going to help you or, God forbid, makes you from up there and bring you back down. Anything you want to add, Eileen?
Yeah, so I want to share, this is a general principle for handling any question. And in particular, Kit has asked, what are the questions we should not ask an interviewer? So, okay, so remember, right, instead of us just giving you, this is a list of 20 questions not to ask an interviewer, I'd like to share this principle called the behind principle for everyone to think about. Basically, the behind principle says that there is always an answer behind, there's always a question behind your question, and there is always an answer behind your answer. So everything that you ask or you answer says something about you. So if there's anything we can leave you with, right, it is that. So remember, how we apply this is, for example, if you ask an interviewer a question about, okay, am I going to have a cubicle? Am I going to have my personal room? What are the benefits at the very first interview? That is going to say something about you that you're not actually saying. So I want everybody to leave our session being able to think through for yourself, what are your answers saying about you? What are your questions saying about you? So I'm hoping that helps. And then over to you, Lionel. We've got quite a few questions to answer. So when you're ready, we can go on with that.
Okay. So before we go into the answering, Alisa, do you mind putting out a poll out there? Okay, so if you guys have attended our things, you know that we try to customize our workshop based on the need that our attendees have. So these kind of surveys really helped us to come up with the next type of workshop that we're going to conduct, so that when you do come, at least you have something that you can bring back with you. Because we don't want to just conduct a workshop for the sake of conducting workshop. So if you can, this will not take too much of your time. Please, please, please help us with this survey so that we can know what are you guys looking out for, so that we can really prepare you for be it an interview, networking, or resume, or even job search, right? So that will be very helpful. So I can actually start answering some of the questions, because I don't think I may have one more slide to show, but that can wait, because that's the most important slide, which is our QR code. Yeah. So Eileen, any question? You were saying there were some questions?
Yep. Okay, so the first question was, I was asked, what are my motivations in applying for the job? How should I answer it?
Oh, you should look at, okay, number one, don't lie. That's the most important thing. Don't lie. You can, if you want your answers to be in tune to what they're looking for, then look at their, research on the company, to find out what is it their mission, their vision is. For example, recently I was looking at this webpage of a company who's very much interested in sustainability, right? So if you are passionate about sustainability and you know that this company pays a lot of attention on it, then your answer should be crafted towards this. So what motivates you could be, oh, recently with all this heat wave and things like that, I realized that, the energy is drying up and we should actually take care of using sustainable yada, yada, yada. And then you can give an example, based on, I look at your company website and it talks a lot about this, and that motivates me to want to work for you because your values, that means the company's value and your value are in line. So usually when a company would like to hire people whereby their values are aligned, so that they know that whatever you do, you're passionate about helping the company, because this company is also working to fulfill your value or your passion. Yeah.
I'd like to add, right, that so again, remember, if you want to answer with something like, okay, I'm very passionate about this. These days, the word passion is kind of overused, and before you say that you are very passionate about something, ensure that you're actually passionate about that thing.
Yes, please, as I said, don't lie. Right? I mean, if one look at your social media, they realize you have done nothing about sustainability. It's not good, huh?
And also, I think we'd like to share an example for example, from data analytics, right? So day in, day out, because it's one of the hottest tech jobs around, day in, day out, you will find people and hear people saying that they are passionate about it. But when you really get to the details, right, those passionate people have never heard of what is Kaggle or what is GitHub. So, in every field, there are always things that a truly passionate person who is passionate about that thing is going to do to find out. So, so before you start using words like passionate, just be aware of your own true level
again, as we said, do your research and make sure that you back it up, right? I mean, it's easy for me to say, yes, ESG or whatever, or no, I can just throw out lots of jargons and things like that. And if one check of my LinkedIn profile, you find there's nothing there, it's not very good, I tell you. So, correct. Please, if you want to answer what motivates you, make sure that you have something that back it up. Right? If you like, let's say you like the kickboxing, make sure that you know who is the current champion or things like that. Things that a person who says that they are into it or motivated about it should know. It's very bad and embarrassing if you get caught out of it.
Okay, before we answer Kit's question, okay, Sidani, we have not forgotten your question. We will come to it. Kit has a related question, right, for this. So what, your social media, what if you do not participate in all that?
Then don't say it. Very simple, then don't lie. but by then it'll be too late. I mean, look, I will say that before you even send in that resume, even let's take a few steps back. Before you even send that resume out, you should already make sure that all your social media is in line with that resume that you're going to send out. Because as sure as the sky is blue, after they receive your resume, they're going to look for you online. So even before you send that job application, make sure that at least your LinkedIn profile is in line with what you have stated on your resume.
So to close off this, right? Okay, so Kit, to answer Kit's question, interviewers sometimes check, they don't always check. And also, right, if you do not have a social media presence, but that is okay. But if you do not have a social media presence and you're applying for a job in a company that is all about social media, for example, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or something like that, then it kind of shows a lot about you remembering our behind principle. So people are looking for a when people look at candidates, we're looking for a person. We're not looking for just, okay, somebody who can do that, but doesn't live and breathe the rest of the company. So I'm hoping that this answers you. And feel free to post more questions here. And we're ready to move on to the next question, which is Sidani, thank you for waiting. The next question is, what do you do if you get stuck during the interview, despite practicing and preparing for the interview?
Take a deep breath, compose yourself, and it's okay to ask them to clarify or to repeat the question. Nobody is perfect, and they know that nobody is perfect. It's just that they would like to see how you react to it. So it's fine. And as we said earlier on, you don't need to immediately jump into the answer. Give yourself 1-2 seconds to compose yourself and think of what are the 3 things or what are the 4 things that you want the interviewer to know about the question. Then you proceed. So because if you practice enough, you should have not a problem to go through. And especially we want, as we said, we try to design the answer so that you can design it based on 3 points that you want to talk about, right? So to every question, 3 points you want to talk about so that you can focus and you don't go off track, right? But if you do go off track, it's okay to stop, compose yourself, and just segue back into the topic that is being discussed.
And to make it easier for Sidani as well, right? This is one of the reasons why we say that while it is important to rehearse, you should not over-rehearse, because over-rehearsal, sets you up for that moment when you get thrown a question that you never prepared. Yeah. And to when you get stuck, what Lionel has just shared is actually techniques to buy time. So just think of techniques, so for example, I'm sorry, I didn't get your question. Would you repeat that question again? And then while they are repeating that question, you can, or I don't quite understand this question. And then there's lots of ways to do that. Yeah.
Okay. As much as it's not good in a sense to not be able to understand or to know, it's worse if you answer in such a way that prove obviously you know nothing about the thing, right? So, interviewers are also human, they can understand. So if you really do not know the answer, just be upfront about it and say, sorry, I may not understand this, could you clarify? Or, or is this what you mean? It's basically to see how you react to stressful situation, how you react to things you may not understand or you may not know. So rather than just think and guess what the answer is and just blab, and then the person will be like, oh, obviously she doesn't know what she's talking about. That will be worse.
All right, next question from Hasnila. Okay, what is the best way to address the interviewer's concern that I'm a candidate that has no prior experience in the particular industry?
The answer would be, if it was a concern, you wouldn't be at the interview, right? So thumbs up to you already, because you're already at the interview, which means that it's not really a concern, because if it's a very big concern, you will not be at the interview table. So if you are there, it means that they must have picked up something from your resume that impress upon them that you could do the job. So what we are talking about will be what we usually label them as transferable skills. So learn to identify. In the first place, if you are already applying for this company or this industry that you don't have prior experience, I mean, if you come to speak to us, we would have made your resume in such a way that it highlights what we call your transferable skills, so that your resume get picked despite not having not having that direct experience. So as we said, an interview is to confirm, to assess whether you could do the job. So if you get this kind of concern that may come up, because the interviewer may have just said, hey, I noticed that history, you did not ever work in the finance industry before. Then then you will have to bring up your best transferable skills that you know is applicable to the role that you're applying for. And if you have come to seen us prior to that, you would know what these skills are. And if you go to the skills framework, the thing, you would have known what are they looking for. So you should not have a problem in answering them, as long as you as we said, we structure it in such a way to showcase that you have done using this transferable skills to perform well in your previous role.
I think something also to help Hasnila, right, and anyone else who's facing this, right, is that before you actually go for any interview, prepare your, following Lionel's power of 3, prepare the top three things that you want to sell about yourself. So this is very important for you, because when you identify the top 3 things you want to sell about yourself, so for example, you are you have this set of skills, you have this set of personality, or you have this set of competencies, and then those 3 things should actually be repeated in every question. So if it is the question, what is your greatest strength, then those 3 things come up. And then when the interviewer asks you this question, okay, you don't have prior experience. Now, this is your chance to use those same 3 things to say that, I've always been a quick learner, and I've proven myself in the last 3 jobs. And now I'm ready to conquer this new mountain, and I have no experience, but this is what I've done. I'm someone who's very well prepared, and so on and so forth. So, so again, I'd like everyone to leave this session with the mindset that when I go for an interview, I have my three key things toolkit. And then no matter what question they ask, right, every one of my answers should keep on using these 3 things, because it's just like an advertisement, right? If you are the last candidate they interview and they've seen 15 before you, they're not going to remember 5 things about you. So your best bet is to identify your 3 things, and then be able to repeat that repeatedly in different ways to different questions, until at the end of the whole interview, all they remember is the 3 things about you.
Yeah, that's one very good way to be what we call memorable during your interview, so that they know what I like to call it the three superpowers that you have. Because if you attend our other session, we know some of us are quite comic book fans, talk about superheroes and things like Fantastic Four. Yeah, so this could be your 3 superpowers that you have. So we are running behind. For those people that have stayed, thank you very much. As we said, I just flashed the email and the QR code. If you feel you want to talk to any one of us, so that you could better prepare for your interview and have answers that are more tailor-made to your situation, by all means, scan the QR code and make an appointment with our career ambassador, and you will be able to see either myself or Eileen and the other 3 coaches that we have.
Lionel, are we still going to answer the questions? Or those who need to leave, feel free to leave now, and we're ready to answer.
I hope you participate in the poll.
Yeah, I hope you participate in the poll. Yeah, so if you hang around, we will be answering all the other questions. So rest assured. Yeah. Okay, so while people are doing the poll, do companies actually look at one's LinkedIn prior to application? Any tips on what's important?
Yes. Short answer, yes. I would say 90% of the people will look at your LinkedIn profile. So as we said just now earlier in the different questions, before you even apply for that job, make sure that your LinkedIn is up to date, and especially on those parts that are not the resume side, which is what are the groups that you are following, what are the people that you are following, what company you are following, and things like that. So those are the things that they look out for.
And then the next question is, any tips on answering questions like, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
That's a very good question. The thing is, this is what I like to answer. I'll usually tell them that in 5, obviously I would like to put in such a way that I don't have a destination. So 5 years later, I still want to move. So I will frame it up in the sense that, that in 5 years, obviously, depending on the role that you're doing, you would either say, oh, increase the sales by how much, or increase the market share by how much, and things like that. But the key takeaway that I would usually, and this may not be your situation, is I want to let them know that doesn't mean that after 5 years is the destination, right? It's like, it's only the journey, and maybe it's just a pit stop, but I still want to see myself growing. I still want to see myself being recognized for the role that I'm holding, and things like that. So I would frame it that way. I don't have an exact answer to it, because it tends to change for me. But to better answer your situation, I think you should again come and see us, and so we can help you refine it so that it places you in a better light. And obviously the answer cannot be sitting where you are sitting, replace your job or things like that. I mean, those are obvious no-nos.
Okay, and then and also always remember where do you see yourself in 5 years, right? Your answer will reflect a lot about you. So yeah, so think about that.
Yeah, you must, basically, it's not the destination. They want to know what drives you, basically, so that in 5 years, where do you see yourself? So put things that are, again, the job description will tell you, and use the job description as a platform for you to answer these questions, right? So basically, you want to show them that you want to see a marked improvement from now to whatever the time frame is.
And then the next question is, I used to take an interview by AI machine, and I don't even understand what the AI machine is asking me. What can I do? Oh dear, look, this is well, I wasn't trying to be rude, but this is really quite unfortunate.
Yeah, because I would say more or less the AI machines usually tries to it's more personality and to understand you. They usually, so I do not know what machine or how they program it. Seriously, it's very unfortunate if you fail because the machine feel that you're not. But you must remember who's programming behind the machine. So most probably the person who programmed the machine is looking out for answers that fit the job description. So again, if you have studied the job description, you will be able to know what are the answers that they are actually looking out for.
And also, I guess you can, to make best of a difficult situation, when you answer, right, you can just say, I'm not quite sure what you're asking me, but I think
it's an AI though, so you're not talking to anybody.
Yeah, exactly. So what I'm saying is that to preface your answer with, I'm not quite sure what this question is asking, but this is what I think you're asking, and therefore my answer is that.
I don't know. I mean, depends. If it's a multiple choice, you have no choice. But
yeah,
if it's a short question, yeah, you could, because I don't know what style, but if it's a multiple choice, then your only way is to, based on the 4 given answers, which one matches what the job description say that they're looking out for. So that's how you can.
Okay, to answer next question, Ernest has got 2 questions. We're going to try to answer both questions, yeah? So 2 years ago, I quit my job and took a sabbatical leave. And in my recent interviews, I was always asked about it. What is the best way to answer? I'm going to answer this and I'll let Lionel pick it up from there. So always be, no matter what, people are quite accepting towards sabbaticals. Okay, so no matter what the reason is, be honest about the reason. And one nice thing for you to do would be to show them what you did during the sabbatical that helped you to end up applying for this particular job.
Yeah.
So it can demonstrate, for example, you took a sabbatical because you were burnt out or something, and during that time you reflected on your life and you decided you really wanted to pursue this, and that's why you ended up there. But if during your sabbatical, you were looking after a family member, you can also turn it around to say something like, I made the best of the situation. I used the opportunity in between, caregiving to pursue my various other interests. And so therefore my interest took me back to this place. Yeah. So
that's very good answer. I have not much thing to add. Is if you do have a break in your career for whatever the reason is, be upfront about it, be honest about it. And the key thing is they want to know how you manage your time during those times. If you pick up certain courses, good, but you don't have a chance, then talk about soft skill that you pick up. So maybe you say, oh, I learned how better to organize my time, because when I look after somebody, I need to make sure that I know when I must do this. I know how to, or I learned how to be resilient, because it's very difficult to look after someone who's like sick, or let them know what are the things, the skills, whether is it general knowledge as in technical skills or soft skills that you pick up while doing the sabbatical. Of course, even if you just laze around the beach the whole day, maybe you could talk about you recognize when the tide comes in and things like that. I mean, I basically have an answer that shows that you have learned something even though you're on sabbatical.
Okay, next question by Kit. Sridani, we're getting to your question as well. Kit's question, are there workshops on building LinkedIn profiles by us? No, currently we don't have at the moment, but if you're interested, right, please, for anyone else in the audience, if you're interested, please do let us know via our feedback channel, so that we will make sure to design something like that. And individually, our coaches can also help you to improve your LinkedIn profiles as well.
Yeah.
So Ernest, how long is an interview? Okay, we don't have a standard to say, okay, one hour interview means they're keen, 1 hour, half an hour means they're not keen. So by asking this question, I believe that you're someone who really wants to put your best foot forward, and you think a lot about your own performance and what comes out of it. Our encouragement to you is, if the interview is over, just let it go. Just let it go, and then focus on preparing for the next interview.
Yeah, because we didn't have a chance to say this, but don't, it's just an interview. I mean, seriously, it's just an interview. Don't carry it with you, just move on, right? If nothing happens, treat it as a practice that you have done, and just move on. There's no point moping about it or just second guessing yourself. Yeah.
Okay, and to answer the other questions, how to answer? Okay, I'm going to answer some quick admin questions, right? For those that have come in from the other channels. Okay. There are no charges to our career advisory sessions, and also, so no charges. So feel free to write in.
Singaporeans and PR, unfortunately, we are only be able to serve Singaporeans and PR.
Yeah, and then from the other channel, Sridani had a question. Is there a need to show that we are a master in a niche, or being a jack of all trades is a good skill? So once again, right,
depends on the job description.
Yeah, exactly. It depends on job description. If you're, that's right. It depends on job description. And remember, there is no such thing called a good personality type. So even if you're one of those for whom being a jack of all trades I'm someone like that, right? The job market will always have a place for you. You just need to find out where that is.
Yeah. I think there's a question on salary expectation, right?
Yes. So you can answer that now. So how to answer expected salary for a career switch individual, even though you already have given a range?
You have given a range. If they want to ask, okay, if you already gave them an answer somehow prior to this and they ask again, then basically the intention most probably is you need to justify why they should pay you within this range, especially if they're going to switch, right? So the key thing is research to find out whether your range makes sense, because maybe your range didn't make sense, so they want to ask you why you think we should pay you that much or whatever. So if they do ask you, means at least they like you enough to ask you. There's no right way or wrong way. Some people say give a number, some people say give a range, right? So, but the key thing is you must do your homework and find out if you were to take up this role, what is the market paying, right? What is the, and you can find this answer either JobStreet has a web page that lets you fill in all the details, and they'll tell you how much this role pays based on the number of years of experience and things like that. And if not, then some of the search firms like Hayes and Robert Walters, they do publish salary guide. So the key thing is there's no correct way or wrong way to answer this question, but you just need to make sure that you know what the market is paying, and be honest to yourself, how far or how near you fit that profile to command that kind of salary.
Another point to add, right, is that sometimes sometimes there are some unpleasant employers who ask this question over the phone before even granting you an interview. So in those situations, I would not even give any answer. So you want to say something like, I think this is inappropriate at this stage in the whole interview process. So that's one thing. And expected salary, if you are the type who doesn't feel that you want to be very upfront about it, you can say that, well, according to Hayes, according to Robert Walters, I believe that the market rate for this salary is this. So therefore, my expectation will be somewhere in this range. Yep, so that's what we have. Okay, next question by Darren. May I ask that this sales advisory role, if I have been hired by the employer, is there any contract?
We met, or is just a general question? Because
yeah, this one we are not too sure what the context is. So Darren, if you think this question is better off answered in private, let us know as well. So I feel this job is not suitable.
Because it's related, you see.
Oh yeah, so, okay. If I feel this job is not suitable for me after 1 year, okay, there's nothing stopping you from changing jobs after 1 year.
Unless you sign a bond that says you need to work for 2 years. So I cannot answer this question because it depends on the situation, Darren. So if you want to, then I think make an appointment to see us, and we can look through your situation and try to answer it better, because it depends a lot of things comes into play. But if you're talking about in general, is it okay to switch out after 1 year? I mean, if it's going to affect your mental health, you hate to work, then yes, switch. You know what I mean?
Thank you for that. And we do have, okay. So one more question from Shu.
Last one.
Yeah, last one, guys.
Come and see us. We will give you, then we can, better setting to answer your question. So we'll answer Su Ling's question, right?
I have a recruiter who insisted on knowing what my pay is. How do I reject them? Can I refuse to show my pay slip?
Legally, you don't have to show them your pay slip. Okay? Legally, you don't have to. And you need to ask yourself, if the company is like that, do I really want to work for them? I mean, that's basically your answer. So legally wise, you don't have to show them your pay slip. Okay? So if the company is insistent, and before you even work for them and they're being so nasty to you, I mean, ask yourself, do I really want to work for such a company?
But I think in this case, it's a recruiter. So I think because it's the recruiter who has got access.
Also, the same thing. You don't need to.
Yeah.
You don't need to show them if you don't want to, because legally you're not obliged to show them. And
it depends on how so-called desperate you are to work with this recruiter, because I mean, in this case, I think our perspective is that the recruiter it is in the recruiter's interest to fight for a higher salary for you than a lower, because the commissions are actually tied to your salaries. Yeah, so it all depends on having that honest conversation with the recruiter.
Yeah, why is it that they need to see? I mean, if they need to see so that they believe that you're telling the truth, then You need to ask them why they insist. Unless they don't believe that you're getting paid that much, then it really begs the question, why would this recruiter if they don't believe you, then how is it possible, continue working with them, So I think I'm done.
I think we're done.
Done. Thank you for those who still remain. Appreciate it. I really hope that you could bring something back, right? So that this is not all in vain. Thank you for spending this afternoon with us. We look forward to seeing you individually if you did make an appointment.